Welcome back. In our last explainer, we really dug into the what of cloud storage. Today, we're taking the next step and tackling the which. How do you pick the absolute perfect tool for your specific needs? Let's figure it out. So, this right here, this is the core challenge we're tackling today. You know, it's kind of like having this giant, amazing toolbox, but you're not sure which wrench to use for which bolt. The options can seem a little overwhelming, but trust me, we're going to break it all down and make it super simple. And to help us do that, let's use an analogy for this whole session. Think of Google Cloud storage options as one of those fancy, feature-packed Swiss Army knives, right? Each tool has a very specific purpose. Our goal here is to make sure you're not trying to, open a can with the scissors. It's all about picking the right tool for the job, which is going to save you time, money, and a whole lot of headaches. All right, here's our game plan. We're going to look at how to handle those older legacy apps, how to automate your cost savings, which is huge, how to move massive amounts of data, and of course, how to lock it all down and control who has access. By the end, you'll have a really clear path to the right storage solution. Okay, let's get into it. First up, we've got a classic problem. You have an old school app, but it's still absolutely essential to your business. It's used to running on a file server right there in your office. So how in the world do you get that into the cloud without a major headache? This is a super common scenario. You'd be surprised. The app, it's kind of like an old car that only runs on leaded gasoline. It just doesn't know how to handle modern object storage. It needs to see a simple shared folder, just like that G drive it's always been used to. It needs that familiar file system to read, write, and lock files. And the solution is Cloud Filestore. This is the file tool on our Swiss Army knife. Just think of it as a shared network drive, but it lives in the cloud. It's a fully managed NFS server, which means it speaks POSIX, and that's basically the native file language that Linux and so many of these older apps understand. Multiple computers can connect to it at the same time, which makes it perfect for those older apps and even some really intense high-performance computing tasks. Okay, now let's move on to cloud storage buckets. This is where things get really interesting. Buckets have some incredibly smart features that can automatically manage your data, saving you both time and, you guessed it, money. Here's the deal. Not all data is created equal. You've got files you use every single day, and then you have old archives you might look at once a year, if you're lucky. Now, you wouldn't pay for a prime downtown parking spot for a car you only drive on holidays, right? Well, the exact same logic applies to your data. And this is where lifecycle management comes in. It is brilliant. It's like a smart closet. Your hot data, the stuff you're using all the time, it starts right in the front on standard storage. But then you can set a rule that says, hey, if a file hasn't been touched for 30 days, automatically move it back to the cheaper nearline storage. After a year, move it again to the absolute cheapest cold line storage, way in the back. It's a fantastic set it and forget it way to just slash your storage cost. But it's not just about saving money. What about protecting your data? I mean, what if someone accidentally deletes a critical file right before a huge deadline? Or what if a regulator says you absolutely have to keep a specific record for 7 years and it cannot be changed? Here we've got two incredibly powerful tools for data protection. On one hand, object versioning is basically your undo button. It keeps a history of every single change so you can easily recover from accidental deletions or edits. It is an absolute lifesaver. On the other side, you have bucket lock. This is like a time-locked safe. Once you lock a file, it cannot be deleted or changed by anyone, not even you, until that lock expires. This is a must-have for compliance and legal holds. So your data is planned out, it's going to be safe, it's going to be cost-effective in the cloud. Awesome. But how do you get it there in the first place, especially when you have a massive amount of it? It's kind of like trying to move a mountain with a shovel. Imagine this is your challenge, moving 75 terabytes of data. Now, to put that in perspective, on a pretty typical fast internet connection, that could literally take months to upload. At this scale, your internet connection is absolutely the bottleneck. So how do you solve this? Well, you have two main options. For these massive data sets like 75 terabytes or more, a physical transfer appliance is absolutely the way to go. Google actually sends you a high-capacity server, you load up all your data, and you ship it back. It's like moving your data in a giant truck instead of one car at a time. For smaller but still pretty large transfers, a direct upload is probably your best bet. And that's where this little pro tip comes in. When you're uploading, you don't want to just send files one by one. Using the command gsutil-m performs a multi-threaded upload.
It's like opening up a whole bunch of checkout lanes at the grocery store instead of just having one. It dramatically speeds up the process and really makes the most of your internet connection.
All right, now that your data is safely in the cloud, how do you control who gets to see it and what they can actually do with it? This is such a critical piece of the puzzle, so let's dive right in. To really understand access control, let's use a simple analogy. Imagine you're managing the access to a big office building. You'd have a master key, right? And then an office key, and maybe a temporary guest pass. Each one gives a totally different level of access, and we're about to see how that applies to your data. First up is IAM, which stands for Identity and Access Management. This is your master key. It sets the broad, sweeping permissions for your entire project. So for example, you can create a policy that says, hey, developers can create and delete storage buckets, but analysts can only read data from them. IAM is all about controlling that big picture. But what if you need to give someone temporary access to just one specific file? I mean, you wouldn't give a delivery person the master key to the whole building, right? That's where signed URLs come in. They're like a digital guest pass. It's a secure link that provides temporary access to a single file, so you don't have to go through the trouble of creating a whole new user account. It's perfect for sharing a report with an external partner. Let's put this to the test. An external auditor needs to see one specific report, but only for 4 hours. Which key do you use? You guessed it, a signed URL. You generate a unique link for just that file that automatically expires in 4 hours. It's secure, it's precise, and you don't have to remember to go back and revoke their access later. Wow, we've covered a lot of ground, from shared drives to smart buckets and super secure access. So let's put it all together. Here are the key questions you should be asking yourself to make the right choice every single time. Answering these 5 questions will point you straight to the right tool in your storage Swiss Army knife. Your access patterns, they'll help you choose the right storage class to save money. Your retention needs will point you to features like bucket lock. Performance requirements might lead you right to Filestore. And of course, your migration and security needs will help you choose the right transfer method and access control. And that really is the key takeaway here. A smart storage strategy isn't just about dumping files somewhere. It's about building an intelligent foundation for your data that's secure, that's cost-effective, and that's ready to grow with you. So the real question is your storage strategy smart enough for the future?